that are new here, my name is Curelet-Balan and I run this user group. Tonight's session is on building a CI/CD pipeline for Kubernetes with Max. He is amazing, Microsoft MVP. He's a senior consultant trainer at Aftersharp Consulting. So there's myself and Dan. We run this user group. So if you have any questions or concerns or recommendations for any other sessions you want to see, feel free to reach out to Dan or myself. The best way to do that is usually just to directly message us on Meetup, but you can tweet at us if you want. I mean, we're both on Twitter. I'm more active than Dan is on Twitter, but you'll definitely get a response. We have a code of conduct. Feel free to go online anytime to read it. And for tonight's session, these are some hashtags that are just suggested hashtags you can use when tweeting about tonight's session, but if you have other ones that come to mind that relate to the content, feel free to use them as well. Just try and be sure to use like CTTDNAG, which is the acronym for this user group. And upcoming events. So Microsoft Ignite the Tour is coming to Toronto, January 10th to 11th at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. Registration is now open and it's free. So this is a great opportunity to register for a 2-day conference. That is free, and that you're going to get access to amazing content and any of the latest announcements that came out of Ignite earlier this year. People from Microsoft obviously are going to be there. So definitely a great opportunity to go to an awesome conference.
Are they still accepting the presentations?
I don't know. I'm not running it. So I have no idea what's going on for cost of conference or anything like that. Microsoft Tech Summit is also being held in various cities. So Halifax, Ottawa, Montreal, Vancouver, Quebec City, and Calgary. I'll be speaking at the Montreal one. But in those city events, those are just the one-day events, so they're kind of like a mini version. And yep, you can register for those as well because registration is open. They're held on different days. Halifax is November 1st. Ottawa, I believe, is like November 15th. The Montreal one's November 29th, and I can't remember the dates for the other ones, but yeah, they're all different days, so it's not synchronized.
It's not Toronto?
No, Toronto's the Ignite Tour, because they're having the full 2-day conference. These are like just a 1-day tech summit. And in November, we have Dave Lloyd, who's also from Registry, who's going to come out and go over all of the new and exciting things in Azure DevOps. If you recall, Visual Studio Team Services was rebranded and is now known as Azure DevOps. There's some pretty cool things in there to see, a lot of changes. Definitely a session worth coming out to and getting familiar with all the new exciting things in that world. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Max.
Hi, I'm just going to stand up. Hey everybody, my name is Max. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the building proper pipelines for Kubernetes. Usually, in this case, using the Azure DevOps, formerly known as ESTS, formerly known as VSM, formerly known as ESTS. Anyway, they keep changing names, which is hilarious. So we're gonna learn how to build a pipeline using Azure DevOps, but the principle is applicable to anything else because kubectl command is a kubectl command. So, anyway, just curious, who's here? A developer versus IT? Ops, let's say ops. Developer. Okay, ops. Lord, what the hell? Just one ops.
I'm everything. I'm ops.
All right, so a little bit about me. I'm Max. I'm consultant object shop, myself, ALM MVP. I don't know what they're gonna call it now, now that it's Azure DevOps. My emails, my Twitter, look me up, Google me, type my last name, pretty sure the first page is mine. Okay, we're gonna talk about Kubernetes. I have a few slides, most of them I'm just gonna skip, it's just gonna be straight up demo. Okay, how much time do I have? Lori?
We're here until 8:30, but if you can wrap up by 20 after 8, that would be awesome.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So, all demo all the way. I'm gonna skip through a few. You guys know what Kubernetes is, right? Who doesn't know what Kubernetes is? I mean, who knows what the who doesn't know what the container is? Let me start this way. Container, everybody knows? Okay. And I am I'm a DevOps guy. I don't have to be an expert in everything. I just have to know a little bit about everything, right? I don't have to be an expert. So I'm not claiming to be a Kubernetes expert. I'm not. I know my way around it, and I think I'm okay, but I'm not an expert. So Kubernetes is a container orchestration, because containers are so cool and so simple and so resilient, and there's so many of them potentially. You need a tool that orchestrates bringing them up and down and manage them. So Kubernetes is one of them. Yes, sir. You don't have to raise your hand, by the way, just speak up.
What's the difference between a container on Linux and one on Windows if Kubernetes can orchestrate both times at the same time?
Kubernetes can probably orchestrate both of them. It's the container itself, the kernel that runs inside the container that's different. Like Windows VM, Linux VM. In early stages, VMware wasn't able to handle, well, one of them wasn't able to handle one of them, right? So, same idea.
So you cannot have a Linux VM and Windows VM.
You cannot have a hybrid. You cannot have a hybrid containers in a single cluster. So you can either have Linux clusters with all the OS of Linux, or all the containers of Linux, or you can have a Windows one, which is coming soon. I think right now you can still manage containers on Windows. Windows containers using ACS, not AKS, Azure Container Services. They promised it Q2, Q3 or something, Q3 I think this year, that they're gonna come up with the AKS for Windows containers. I haven't seen it yet. Okay. Excuse me. Kubernetes concepts, cluster, collection of master, so master slave. Everything is a node, the machine is a node. Pods, so a container, again, by the way, who's here the Kubernetes expert? I'm breezing through this because I want to move on to the demo, so if I'm saying something wrong or incorrectly, or not, my information is incomplete, let me know. So pod is the wrapper around the container, so container plus. They don't call them containers in Kubernetes, or they call them pods. Service is the way to expose functionality to the outside, because containers or pods are just, they are, what's the word? They're replaceable, right? You can shut it down, you can kill it, and whatever. But if you shut it down and your DNS is connected to a certain IP address and certain port and whatnot, and you killed the node, then you gotta update the DNS. Instead of this, you're just doing you have a service which is always there, and it points back to the points back to pods. All right, labels. This is the simplest and the coolest feature about the Kubernetes. This is what, in my opinion, is what makes Kubernetes cool, right? It's the so instead of this is the way to label the pods or label or tag the pods. The way it's especially cool as you start doing the CI/CD, as you start promoting environment or rolling back or rolling forward. And what I mean by this, you have a bunch of containers, pods. Stop saying containers, pods. You have a bunch of pods of 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 1 and 3 are labeled as a version 2. 2 and 4 are labeled as version 3. And again, you can just deploy to version. As soon as you change the label on the container, it becomes all the traffic goes to a different place. So I'll show you. It's better in the demo. Replication controller. This is what takes care of managing the pods, deployments. This is what deploys, clone jobs. Yeah, whatever. So the first demo. Okay. So what I've done, I'm going to show you what I've done so far, and I'm trying to start clean. The only thing I've done in my Azure subscription is I've created the VSTS Azure DevOps project. Okay, my Azure DevOps project has nothing right now in it. It's absolutely blank. I have created a resource group in Azure, and again, the only reason why I've done it because the Kubernetes cluster takes a few seconds to spin up, and I didn't want you guys to wait. So I have this. Can you see this? No? I'll try to zoom in. So what I've done is I created a Kubernetes cluster. Okay. It's called K8s demo, and Kubernetes is K8s abbreviation. So it's up and running. If you want to create another one, it's actually very, very straightforward. So create. I can do that in the script. I can do that in the UI. Where is it supposed to go? The name, the location where I can put that in, the cluster itself, the version that I want it to run, and obviously the later the better. DNS suffix, the nodes, how many nodes do I want in my original cluster or not. I can change the size. Okay, and what I can also do is, again, I can say, you know what, I need 53 of them to begin with. You can also set up scale up, scale down rules there. So I can also do authentication. So in this case, it's gonna, the cluster will function using the service principal that it's gonna create, and I can enable or disable the RBAC, which is the role-based access control. I can create the networking. I can use the simple or advanced. Advanced will allow me to create the connect to existing networks or create new, more advanced networking within Azure. All of that I can do within the command line, within PowerShell, within Azure CLI, with Terraform, and okay.
The command line is the same on Linux?
In PowerShell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use scripts.
Yes.
So I can take a script from a Linux and put it in PowerShell I create on Windows?
Yes. But again, I want to make sure that I'm explaining correctly. The script that the PowerShell that you're going to run is going to create a cluster in Azure.
Yeah.
Whether you run that script from Windows or from Linux, it doesn't really matter, as long as it has the proper PowerShell or the Azure CLI installed. Okay. So
I have general information about Kubernetes. So a node is a replication of the other nodes, or it's
node is the machine that will run the container.
But you said you can create more nodes.
Yeah, I want to start my cluster with 15 nodes because I know I'm going to have tons of containers.
So these nodes will replicate each other, or it's like a sharding of the nodes, of the containers across the nodes?
They're going to share, they're going to distribute that load, yeah.
And you don't have control. Yeah, you could have some.
Do you want to control?
I'm just asking.
You can have control. Okay? But yes, you can have control, you can set it up any way you want to, right? Obviously, UI gives you unlimited functionality, keeps you a certain way. If you're doing command line, scripts, or whatnot, you can be a lot more creative. Okay? So this is important. I mean, if you know what the log analytics in Azure is, no? This is where all the logs go. This is where all the monitoring, all the security stuff in Azure go, potentially. Okay, this is where you can accumulate all of your logs, process them, set up triggers, set up alerts, set up notifications, set up dashboards, and so on and so forth. Okay? So this is your Azure monitoring, essentially. You can also feed that into other third-party,
To Kibana or Splunk?
Yeah, you can feed that into Splunk or the Curator or ArcSight or TrustWave, any of those, right? Most of them have connectors. Some of them don't, like ArcSight doesn't. They said they're going to have one this month actually. Hasn't seen it yet. But Curator and Splunk has one. You can, again, but even if you don't have it, you can still, I'm getting sidetracked, but that's because that's what I'm on this project right now, where I'm doing this stuff. You can, even if you don't have a connector, you can still convert from log analytics into Ceph messages and just shove it back into wherever. So it doesn't really matter if there's a connector, you can put it anywhere. But the point is, log analytics is awesome. This is where you're reporting. This is where all of your logs go. This is where your metrics go. This is what allows you to control and manage and monitor. Okay? Because DevOps is not just about deploying. You got to monitor, you got to have continuous loop. Yes, sir.
Back to the nodes question.
Yes.
Is there any tool to profile how much it cost me if I have 2 nodes compared with 50 nodes, or is it just a matter of scaling? I mean, if my application goes from 5,000 to 1 million of users, then
See this?
I need more nodes.
See this? The size? Go to Azure Calc. So you talk about the price or how much resources do you need? If you talk about the price, take the size and say I need 15 of them and multiply it.
Okay.
If you're talking about how much power you need, it really depends on an application. So
But the
to
need for
take a
more
guess-
nodes, the need for more nodes, it is caused by the scaling requirements?
Yes, by your application,
But-
which triggers the scaling requirements.
But it's not dynamic. For example, during Christmas, now
It
you
is.
have some scale, yeah? During Christmas,
is
it can
dynamic.
go 10 times
You can
bigger.
set up automatic scale up and scale down.
With the number of nodes?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's like a web app, right? So you can have, just 1 second, you can have a bigger server, bigger plan, scale it down, have a less plan, right? So it's Christmas and whatnot. Sorry, did you have a question?
Yes, one other question on pods. So I read that there is a default limit of how many pods you can have in AKS, and then you can override it. The question is there a theoretical maximum? Because I'm looking to run like 10,000 plus pods on Azure. Do you know if that's possible?
I'm gonna say I have no idea. Okay, again, it looks like you've done your research, so there's always a limit. There's limit at everything, right? Even though they say Azure is limitless, limit is at everything.
No, but in your
You can
practice,
override them.
What are the largest clusters that you can see on Azure specifically?
I never actually looked at the size because I don't actually care. Like it runs, I'm happy.
Yeah, because I'm looking in the.
I want to say I have people for that. So yeah.
Yeah, because they say that you can override it, but they.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Microsoft doesn't really say what the maximum is.
But what I can say to, again, I cannot speak to that question, but what I can say for sure is I have been on a number of projects with Azure, and I have hit almost any of my projects, I've hit the limits that they give you. A simple email or whatever simple request, you get that limit doubled.
No, I know.
What-
I know how to
whatever,
reach
right?
the limit. My question.
I don't know what the actual
Yeah,
physical limit is,
like,
right?
Yeah, what the physical limit is, right? Because
I don't think, well,
they started very low. They started like 300,
yeah,
right? I need 10,000, so that's kind of.
I think you're gonna be fine. Again, the thing, what's the largest machine you can buy in Azure right now?
112 gigs.
I think it's more. I think it's terabyte.
112, that's largest.
Is it? Okay. I want to look at Lori, but she's busy. Anyway,
I got like 100,000.
I don't know. No, but I think
This with one machine. One instance.
They say per node you can have 110 pods per node,
Yeah.
and then you can have maximum 100 nodes per cluster. So I'm
so.
assuming it knows the box.
So you're 10,000. You're 1,100 right now. You're
Yeah, that's
11,000
kind
right now.
of that's where I think it's tricky, right? Because it's close to the maximum. I don't know if you can override it further.
And then for those
Yeah.
clusters, you can have 100 nodes.
Yeah. You know what? I can, because it's Azure and the amount of boxes they have. I think that limit is more practical than the
There
hard
was
limit.
something that because they have two different types of networking,
Mhm.
and depending on which networking you're using, there are different limits. Because if you're using advanced networking, I think you only have like what 32 per node. The limit on pods goes down dramatically when you use advanced networking.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a technical restriction or not, or there is something in that can be overridden. Because the documentation is a bit vague.
Because
on that
I
part.
think with advanced, you're getting the actual network card, right? So you're getting access to the
Yeah,
network
it's,
card.
like you have different capabilities in
Yeah.
how you integrate.
That's probably why the limit is, because now more network cards they can stick into the box. So. Anyway, assuming you have a cluster and assuming you're happy with it, so what I wanted to point out is, again, you can set up the monitoring, tags, initial tags, review and create, click it, 5 minutes later, you got yourself a cluster. Okay? My validation failed. I don't know why, because I didn't type anything. So what I also have done is in my resource group, I just want to go through the things that I've done, right? So I have the log analytics. In my log analytics, I have the, sorry, where did you go? I have solutions, where's my solutions? So I have enabled the containers and container insights solution, so I can actually, so you can process and manage those logs. I also enabled a few cache activity. Those are just honestly a force of habit. I just enable them by default. Okay. This is for the firewalls. That's it. I've done nothing else. Okay.
Can I make the font bigger?
Better? Okay. So the next thing I want to do is really visual focus. Okay, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. Actually, yes. So what I want to do is I want to go to my did you end up here? Click on the wrong one. So I have this repo, which is empty right now. Oh, come on, be nice. Repo is absolutely empty. I'm going to clone it. Yeah, sure. All right, so let's clone the repo. What did I do? So here's the one. I'm putting it here. Here's the repo. I'm going to clone it. And let's say UG demo this. Fair enough? So there's nothing in it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm doing everything from scratch. So I'm going to take an application, the web app, and as soon as this is the Wi-Fi is done, so I'm going to have to jump off this Wi-Fi and jump onto mine because it seems a bit slow. Anyway, so create new. You guys developers, right? You're going to tell me what to do. So. This is how I create the MVC app, right? Yes? No? No, that's a core. That's not a. That's the one. Did I get it right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so it goes here, create a new solution. Yeah, I don't want to create a folder. It's MVC, it's no authentication, don't care about this. Okay? So what I can do is, I can turn the enable Docker support right there, but I don't want to do that, I want to do that later. Okay. Any questions so far? So what I have is I have a typical .NET web application, and then we're going to containerize it, make it turn it so that it can run on the containers, and then we can do the rest. Okay. And the reason why I didn't do that before, this is actually what I want you to see, that I'm not cheating. Okay. So I'm creating the container. Who cares, right? What's in it? So this is going to go ahead and create a project.
So you're not using Core, yeah? .NET Core, ISP Core.
I'm not a developer. I don't do that stuff. So yes, you can. It's actually easier to do core. It's more difficult to do MVC. But I am, I haven't looked into it. I know my way around MVC a little, .NET Core, not even close.
So if you have an old ASP.NET application, you can containerize it?
Yep. And that's one of the things that I want to show. Yeah,
You need
it's a
the
very-
Visual Studio 2017, yeah?
No.
What do you need?
think 17 will make it easier because it has that support. I think 15 is going to work too. Don't hold me to that. Don't.
Can you use a script on PowerShell?
I can do all of this in a notepad. Because all it does is just modifies text files behind the scenes for me. Okay, so Notepad, VS Code, whatever. In fact, VS Code has a very, very nice integration with the Kubernetes and the Git and all. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Okay, so I have myself an application. What am I supposed to do now? Let's do. How do you add app insights? Developers in the room? There's a lot of you, right? So I'm just gonna get started. Do your demo. Yeah, sure. Go in here. Configure settings. Goes to East US. Oh no, don't go here. It goes. Oh, I have this one. So it goes here. So this is me making sure my application with application insights. That's just typically what I do. You guys know what the application insights is, right? Can we take a second? While this is running, what I want to do is I have a Docker running on my machine. Okay, so I want to switch to, no, I do have Windows, okay. So my Docker right now is a Linux container mode. I can switch it to Windows, but because Windows is not, even though there's a lot of containers in Windows, it's not first-class citizen in my opinion yet, just easier to deal with Linux, so I'm just going to do Linux. Okay. What the hell? Anyway, do I care about this? Yes? No? Developers?
If you want to catch a trace, you can, otherwise you don't.
Just skip the trace.
Anyway, I'm good, right? About it. Okay, so I have myself in insights. Let's Dockerize it. Docker support. Was that me? Okay, so Docker services configured Windows, however, Docker compose, blah, blah. Would you like to switch Docker? No. No, I don't want that. I want to stay there. Okay, so what it has done, it has a number of files. Docker compose, which is my manifest file. Here you go, my Docker file. My Docker file and my Docker ignore file. So Docker file is telling me how my image is looking, supposed to look. My Docker ignore tells me which files or file types to ignore. And my Docker compose telling me how my environment is actually looking. Okay? Make sure that I don't miss anything. This one. In the past, you used to be able to we'll see if it works. Okay, so I have myself a Docker image file. Why do I have a feeling that this is messed up?
So try it again, running in Windows instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if this is a full framework application, it can't run on Linux. So you can run MVC on .NET Core. So maybe that's
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm gonna delete all this crap. Forget what I just showed. You can erase that. Okay, so new project .NET Core ASP Core. That's the one, right? So let's call it UG Demo 1, just to keep it interesting. Click OK. That's my application, no HTTPS, enable Docker support, Linux or not, right? So I'm not going to turn it on, we're going to turn it on later. Or, yeah. I have myself an application. And this time, let's do it properly. Team Explorer. I think it's worth switching to my different network. So, pretty clean it already. You know? I was pretty sure that I cloned this stuff already, but okay. Very fucking slow today. Erase that part too. Okay, I'm sorry. So, project this UG demo 2, and yeah, so it goes here, right? So, where do I want it to go? I want it to go there. Good. Everything else, no HTTPS, don't care. Linux, no container support yet. I got myself everything that I need. Now I can first commit. So, what is it? Clean .NET Core app. Commit and push. Good. So now let's go to the application and App Insights. Okay, good. We already have this one, so let's just use it.
Is there any reason you want to add the App Insights?
Just thinking ahead, it's a force of habit for me now. When you create a web app, all this App Insights. I don't need it right now, I'm going to need it later.
It helps you with Kubernetes stuff?
Not really. It helps me in web app. It's a habit, that's all it is. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Let's call it a good practice. All right, so I got myself App Insights. Changes. Commit and push. I now go to my solution, and now we're going to add the Docker support. See, that's what I was waiting. So Linux, Windows, we're picking Linux. What it done, it added the Docker compose, Docker ignore file, and it added the Docker file itself.
I think you already have it open right here.
The Docker file. Okay, so can you guys see this? How do I make things bigger in Visual Studio?
You can use less scroll.
I'm sorry?
You can use less scroll, or this is a procedure.
There you are, thank you. Okay, so this is what I have. So what it does, it starts the .NET, ASP.NET Core image as a base. This is the one I'm going to use for production for the environment. It also spins up another container for the build. This is my build. In that build container, it's going to go ahead and compile my code, do .NET Restore, and .NET Build. So it's going to build me my code. And then I'm going to take that. So it's going to publish, and then I'm going to take that output and shove it into my base and save that base. And then the build container can go, I don't care. Okay? You guys good with that?
So with the previous example, it didn't work because you choose Linux?
And in previous example, it didn't work because I've been a moron.
I didn't pay attention. Did you get to the screen to choose between Windows and Linux?
No, that was because, like the gentleman said, because we picked MVC. MVC only runs it's a full framework application, so it doesn't run on the Linux. It only runs on Windows.
Framework will not
So
run.
it gave me the warning saying, "What the hell are you doing?" But I just clicked OK for it and didn't pay attention. Like I said, in the morning. Part of the job.
I think .NET Core, it runs on multi-platform.
Exactly, and that's why it gave me an option. What do you want to do?
So you're saying you cannot take an old ASP.NET app and say I want to containerize it
Yeah.
on Kubernetes on Windows?
Yes, you can on
So-
Windows.
So yeah, on Windows.
I'm not doing Windows containers. I'm doing Linux containers.
Okay.
But yes, you can. Obviously, it depends on the application, what kind of silly things you're doing in the application. Most of them are going to work. Right? So there's a couple of things I want to change in there, and just to make sure that I didn't forget. There you are. So I want to remove this line. I'm going to do that for the service, and I want to copy. Yeah, I don't want just the project file, I want everything. Those are the two changes I want to make. As you can see, when I saved it, it compiled for me locally. Make sure it's working. Make sure I didn't do anything in my containers. Come on. Okay. So we're good? We made the change, we now added containers. So in this one, what I also want to do is I want to change this file. I think I want to add the. So I want to get bin. I want to make sure that I do get bin. I want to make sure that it gets well checked. And I don't want you to do any deal else. What this one tells you is like when the Docker does its stuff, it ignores certain files or folders. This tells me, what I actually care about those folders. Don't ignore them. That's about it, right? Yeah. That's not it. And sorry, because I've been a moron so far, I just want to double check. Where'd you go? Oh, shut up. Those two are conflicting. I actually care about them. And one thing that I want to check is my. So here's my changes, containerized. So now my web application can technically run in container.
So why did you remove the port from the container?
I'm sorry, the what?
Why did you remove the port from the container definition?
Because I'm going to do that through the service.
Oh, okay.
right? Because I don't need to expose the container directly, it goes through the services. So that will be the next step we're gonna do when it actually, this is just a simple container. When we do it in the orchestrator, it's gonna be a bunch and it's gonna be exposed through the service. Okay?
So if you still have a Docker definition for the storage exposure? does
I'm
Docker-
sorry?
If you wouldn't do that, would it conflict with Kubernetes service definition?
If I wouldn't do it, I don't think it's gonna complain. It's just not gonna work.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna end up with 2 exposed ports. And one container, imagine you have 50 containers, one of them is exposed to media, right?
I mean, if you're exposing the same port, isn't Kubernetes just doing basically the same thing?
Yes, so it does it twice. I don't think it's gonna complain, because it doesn't care in the end, right?
I think it will do it, like, I think that is all do the same.
Yes, yeah, but it's not gonna complain, it's not gonna break. Okay, I'm down here. What I do is, so now we have it runs locally, big deal. I don't care. But what I wanna do next is I wanna make sure that my Azure DevOps is connected to my Azure. How do you connect Azure to the STS, Azure to Azure DevOps? Okay. Very easy to do. You go to your project settings. In your project settings, you have service connections. I can go to new, service connection, and you can either create the service principal. Basically what it does is, because I'm logged into Azure using my same credential to log into Azure DevOps, I can technically use that to connect. That is not the best practice. The best practice is to create a separate service principal, service account, and use that to connect them. Okay, then when somebody kicks off a job, it's not your credential that actually doing the work, it's the service principal that's doing the work. Okay? I'm gonna be lazy. I'm just gonna hook them up. I can also use the, well, I can even do that now, which is freaking awesome. That's new, by the way. Yeah. So I'm gonna do it old school. I'm gonna Azure principal. So UG demo. And I don't want to limit the resource groups. If I'm using service principal, I can click this command and actually enter them. Go back to regular view. Okay. So UG demo. My subscription, no limit to the resource group. I click OK, I got a connection. Okay. There are other ways to hook them up. Is through the service principal. That's the recommended way. So you can run a PowerShell script that will create the service principal, and you can use it. You can get your Azure people to give you the service principal, or get them to type it in for you, right? Because you need the service principal ID and the password. Any questions? Right now we are doing the prep work, the foundation work, before we get there. Like I said, it's all from scratch. So we got ourselves a connection. Go here. Okay. Let's build ourselves an image. Where's my image? So we'll create a new pipeline. So in this case, what we're going to do is, as a part of our build process, we're going to create an image. Okay? So it takes it from the Git repo, master branch. Again, we're not getting into the branches right now. There's a whole bunch of templates available. Date next month, we'll cover them all. I'm just kidding, he's going to cover a bunch. But there's a lot available. So Docker container, for me, that's all I need. Hit this apply. I got myself a Docker build. What this is going to do, this is going to build an image. It's It's gonna push it into my that subscription that I just got connected. And I forgot one thing. I forgot to create a container registry. So in my Azure, I'm gonna pretend I did it on purpose. So new container registry, hopefully it doesn't take too long. UG demo.
So you actually have to register the container first before you can actually.
Well, again, I can technically show, I'm creating basically a Docker repo,
Okay.
right, in Azure. I don't have to, it's convenient for me. So put it into my resource group. Let me user share. Use them. Okay, so this is going to go ahead and create it. While it's creating it, I'm just going to go for this. So it's going to build, and it's going to build an image. It's going to shove it into this registry, and it's going to use this Docker file, right, in my repo. Any build arguments I want to pass, and what's the image name, so I can, what do you want the image name to be?
CTT
Who came up with the name for the user group?
Canada
Opti?
Technology Triangle.
Okay, city, is that fair? Well, let's just say, yeah, leave it the way it is. So that'll be the name of the image. Image tags, let's make sure it's latest. It's also marked as latest. And this, we don't care about that part. Yep. We're ready to push the same thing, so it's built. Now it's gonna go ahead and push it.
Is this container registry a Windows-specific Azure thing, or
No.
let's say if I want to develop a containerized solution exclusively on Linux?
No, but
No
with-
Azure.
This container registry is just a folder to store all the images. It doesn't care what's in that folder.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't
But
care
like-
about the contents of the files.
I mean, like a development platform, and just try to compare
Yes.
Windows with Linux. Let's say I'm working exclusively on Linux. I want to do Docker Kubernetes on Linux.
Yep.
Do I still need this kind of registry like in Azure? I don't want to.
I can hook up into Docker. I can hook it, just go push it directly into Docker. Have that
okay.
repo in the Docker itself, right? It's all contained. It's just I'm using everything Azure. I might as well use this one, right? So let me go and make sure that it's actually created. Yeah, deployment is complete. I should have myself now container registry. There is my. Where'd you go? There's my container registry. And if I click on it, I just created it from scratch. It has nothing. So my repositories got nothing. Empty. Okay? So let's go ahead, go back, refresh, push it here, push it here. So this is my build for the image. You guys all following, right? Build application, build image. So in this case, it's going to create a container with the .NET Core, ASP.NET Core container with my application already in it. Okay? So if I save this now, and let's good. Let's go this way. Just make sure I didn't miss anything. Any comments? Any questions? No?
So I have a question.
Yes.
So if you have outways multiple containers as a result, do you create individual agent jobs?
No, I can do it all in one.
Or you can do all in one?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can just say I want to copy those steps, do it again and again and again.
Or you
do
copy
that.
the steps?
Yeah. Because I'm building that image, right?
So it picks up Docker files, it doesn't pick.
In this case, we are doing step at a time. We're building up towards the Kubernetes. So we're right now just building that image and we're shoving that into the repo.
So
The
it
next
doesn't
thing-
use the Docker Compose thing, it just uses the
Docker Compose for Kubernetes. That's the environment that
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
describing. The next thing we're gonna do. Okay?
You mentioned before Azure DevOps. I'm not familiar. Is that type of Visual Studio project?
Azure DevOps is formerly known as VSDS. You know,
Oh,
VSDS,
yeah.
they rebranded, relaunched the project or the product, and they call it now Azure DevOps.
So before you build the project in DevOps?
Before I built the project in VSDS.
Okay.
So it's the same thing, it's just branding. And now
Okay.
we're recording that on YouTube, so I'm gonna get flagged for myself, just kidding. No, they relaunched the product, okay? So, building, pushing. Everybody's happy?
Go for it.
Save. I can put it into folders and whatnot. Okay. One thing that I want to do is just to make sure that I've been honest and fair is, not that I wasn't. Let's update something. What do you want it to say?
Groovy.
This?
Hello, Groovy. Sounds good.
Okay. So we're going to change it later one more time, but that's. Okay. So now, when I build my image, I'm sorry, when I queue the build, and again, I can build it on any of the, I can build it on hosted. The downside in this case for me to build it on hosted, anyone? So when I'm using a hosted agent, I'll potentially never get the same agent when I rerun the build. So because the build itself involves downloading the VHD, the original, the base images, because I'm using hosted, when I kick it off, I potentially every time it's re-downloading everything and re-downloading everything. If I have a dedicated agent, then it's just done once. It knows it already has it in its own repo and just builds faster. Okay?
So what's the recommended way then?
If you're short on time, get yourself a dedicated agent. If you don't.
Is there a cost difference?
Well, it depends on how long it takes you to get the agent to actually get it, and then plus how long it takes to download an image. Because typically, Windows containers are like about 600 gigs, 600 megs.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah. So a gig. So you're downloading a gig every time. It adds to your build time. Okay, so I'm just gonna use whatever. It's gonna go ahead and build. You guys all use the STS Azure DevOps before? What are you guys using, by the way, for your DevOps? Oh, sorry, for your pipelines?
Jenkins.
Jenkins?
Containers.
I'm sorry?
Container.
Kafka? Anything else? No?
Well, we used TeamCity before, but now switching.
Okay. Yeah, TeamCity was hot at some point. And then it kind of went down there. Anyway, so in Jenkins, same idea, right? You kubectl commands, kubectl command. So, Upware, honestly, don't know much about it, so can't talk to, but command is a command, right? So it runs, and that's what it takes a while, right? It just re-downloads that image, and before it builds it, it has to download 2 containers, and then it's building the image and it's uploading it again. That might take a couple of minutes. While it's running, what we can do next is let's assume that it's working. We'll come back, and we're not going to check anything in yet. But let's do the Docker Compose file. So in my Docker Compose file, and that's the file that will take care of my what you gonna call it? That will take care of my the environment. So if I take the one that I had before. I'm being lazy, efficient. Okay, so here's my Docker Compose file. The version, I'm creating a service first. Service is called SVC UG demo. It has the load balancer and available on the port 80 HTTP. Okay. My deployment job going to do a rolling update. So you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. You can say update 2 containers at a time or 10% of the containers at a time, and just don't update them all, right? And by the way, there's no whiteboard, right? Right. While this stuff that we're doing is extremely boring because we're building a foundation, the cool stuff is what comes, not what we're going to show you, but what comes after that. And hopefully I'll have time to show you this. But the cool stuff is when you do the, so imagine you have a server or the container or cluster, whatever, right? So imagine you install version 2 on it of the product, right? So you have 2 containers and you install version 2 of your application on it, website. Okay, so that's your label. So you're labeling that as version 2. Okay? And let's say that's me. So if, when I'm installing the next one, I can install on top of those, or I can, with my mouse, I can say, you know what, I have 2 more containers that are right now empty and not doing much, or they used to have V1, right? Now I'm installing V version 0.3, so I'm overwriting those containers, and I'm labeling them as a V3.
So this is where the label that you mentioned.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So now, all the work, right? So in the past, all the requests were going towards V2. Now they're going towards V3. Okay, because I'm flipping people. If there's a problem, and I say, you know what, V3 is no good, I gotta roll back. All I gotta do is say, you know what, everybody goes to V2. I'm done. Or I want to say, you know what, 10% of my traffic goes towards V3, 90% goes towards the V2, so I'm testing my new website on 10% of the 10% of the day.
Like an A/B testing kind of
Yeah,
thing?
red, green kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay?
The switch to 3 happens after all have been upgraded, or, you know, let's say you started the update on V3, you finish with the first one, but the second one is still V2.
Yeah, but they're just not used. Nobody's running, nothing's running on them. I'm sorry, if stuff is running on them, they never get any traffic.
Well, what if you want to have traffic?
Okay. Do that.
So do you define on your load balancer how much?
Yeah, you can do that, yes.
White label?
Yeah, you update your Docker file, and again, that becomes part of the infrastructure. And somewhere in there, that where, there's labels, yeah, there you are. So I can say, you know what? V2, V3, V4, and so on and so forth. Okay? So think how easy it is to roll back. And it literally takes us once, other than uploading and other than downloading stuff, it really, really is fast. Okay? And again, if you have the local agent, then your uploading is really fast too, downloading. So, we're done. So what it did, it built me an image. Here's everything that it did. Lots of stuff. And then what I want to show you is, remember those steps? So you know the container, every step is a new layer on top of it, technically a new container. Okay? So it did all of those steps one by one, and then it pushed that into my repo. And now if I go to my repo and hit refresh, I have myself an image. And if I click on it, it should be a build number 10. And can anybody tell me why it's 10? Because in the build, what we did is we used the build ID as the tag. So because my build number is actually 10, build ID is 10, so that's why I know it's always a unique number. It's never
Okay.
repeating.
So it's like, so for me, it's one.
So an increment, it's a version number.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so if I wanted to do a proper version number, then I do a proper version number. So in here, in my build, that's the part that did this. So if I can build myself a proper version number and insert that in there, and then it's going to be a proper version number.
So the way you have it right now, that would just auto increment, right?
That's the build ID. That's the automatically incrementable number inside the my DSTS account.
But,
Azure
but
DevOps.
then you mean you can also set it as well too, like set like a pattern? Or
Yeah, yeah. I can do whatever I want. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say if I want to do like date and then,
Yes.
year, month, date,
Yeah.
and then build number,
Yes.
you can do it, okay.
Yes. So if I want to show you, so this build number format,
Mhm.
you look at there. There's a syntax that you can use, an amount of stuff that you can do,
Yeah.
and on top of that, you can do all your custom variables.
Mhm.
So like major, minor, repatch,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And something, and build that variable and just use that as your tag.
Gotcha.
What are those replicas in that metadata file? There is
Which
like
ones?
the one that you showed in Notepad or something?
You mean here?
Yeah, the replicas on the spec. What's that? Replicas of what?
That's what actually manages my nodes and builds my nodes. And
So
that-
number of nodes?
It's the. I'm not gonna try to remember what the official name
That's
is.
fine.
No, Curelet. And I actually have it. Bless you. So the replica controller ensures that the specified number of pods replicas are running at any given time. So basically, it's what brings them up and down. So if your node is stopped responding, you killed it, it brings up the next one. You say, I always want to know, make sure that I have 2 nodes up and running. Okay? And the replica set is the next generation of replication controller. The difference is replica set has label support.
Replicas are not nodes, those are pods.
Yeah,
No, yeah. So, number of nodes.
yeah, that's what you
No,
said
not the
before.
nodes, because the node and
Pod.
pod are different things. Node is basically a version.
Pod, yeah, pod.
And the pod is, in this particular case, a container.
And I'm looking, it ensures that a specified number of pod replicas are running.
That's
And I
what
said,
we read
and I'm reading
before.
it now, anyway.
You read it
Somebody
pod
pays
before.
attention. Okay.
We know who this me is in this house, in this room.
Okay, so in here it's gonna do a rolling update, update 1 node at a time, we only have 2. This is the name of the containers, this is the name of my container registry, and I think that's the one. So let me just go back and check. Yeah, call it UG demo. Properties. Yeah, this is the one. This is where I'm going to push it to. It's going to be the name of my container UG demo, and this one I'm going to use so it can automatically replace it on the fly. Okay, so my what it's going to do is going to replace this value with the actual build ID. So when I'm pushing that, it knows exactly the number. Okay. Image secrets. That's my secret. Let's say That's the part that I hate. That's the part that's manual, at least as far as I know, and you guys tell me if it's otherwise. So what I want to do is
What does ACR stand for?
this is the key that the STS will, Azure DevOps will use to communicate and push them up and down.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what I want to do is there's a piece of paper in there. I have those numbers. So my dashboard right now. If I go to my container, Kubernetis. If I go to my container and I have this PowerShell up and running, let's say if it's in the min. Oh, cute. And what I also want to do while I'm at it, go ahead and I'll explain to you why I need this in a second. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so monitor containers, view my Kubernetes dashboard. If I do so, to view my Kubernetes dashboard locally, I need to have this. So this will go ahead and make sure that I have the latest AKS client installed locally. Make it bigger. It's going to 1 right now, so it's going to download it. One Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So I have this, and I'm going to do my sorry, I'm just preparing something. It's going to while it's running. Okay, come on. The internet go down?
You can already download it.
Is it? It's not doing anything.
Run the Curelet.
I'm sorry?
Just run the Curelet.
So let's change the focus. So that's the name of the cluster, right? And let's make sure that let's open up the dashboard for the cluster. There's nothing in it right now. Well, let's open it up, and it's gonna blow up, just so you know. It's gonna blow up because of security. So if you Google it, you will see the script that you gotta run, and the script is actually, where'd you go? I need to find this line. I just don't know how to type it.
Search.
Control F.
If I knew what I was searching for, yeah. There you are. So this is the line I'm looking for. So we essentially, what we're doing here, we're applying this policy to, and that's my policy. This is my policy. Okay. So the policy is just going to give you admin rights to Azure DevOps. So let me stop this. Don't I have it there? Yep. So now, if I do it again, so now we can actually access the cluster from local. I'm not going to pretend I know what it's doing. I know it's working. I have 2 nodes in my cluster with my nodes. I have, what do I have? Do I have any deployments? No, I don't have any deployments. We haven't deployed anything to the cluster yet. We only published the image itself. What do I have? No pods. I got nothing. I got no services. Just wanted to show you I literally have nothing here. And the default secret. So the one thing that I want to do is, and I don't want to do this. Sorry. I want to log in. There's a script that you can download, that you can look up, that will go ahead and allow you to and I'll go for each line, right? So we're logging into my Azure, we picking my subscription, we are naming certain service principals that we want to create and use. We populate the logins with the resource IDs now that we know them. So this is what creates the secret that allows you to pull and push the images. And assign the contributor role. Now it's been assigned, I want that ID, because I need it. Where'd you go?
I think it's there when you highlight it or something.
Get it?
Yeah, there's some words behind it.
Oh, the SP password. Oh! I didn't copy it, sorry. And how do you reset PowerShell? Reset PowerShell. The colors.
Right, Control L.
Control L? Yeah.
It just says the window but not the
Yeah,
colors.
yeah. But you know what now it's all gonna be red and that's annoying. I hate that thing. So it got the client ID, the one that I need. And now I'm just gonna spit it out.
It's not like in a DOS box. You click on the left top corner.
Reset?
No.
I doubt it.
Oh, properties.
Defaults? It just sets the defaults.
You have properties.
There's actually a command that you can run. So here's my service principal ID, and here's my password. Can I save it? I didn't save it. Okay, that's fine. Don't care about it. So now let's create the registry. So kubectl command. I need to have this one. And that will be my username and my password.
Do you still want the command?
The what?
The command to reset the highlight?
Yes.
It's set PS here.
What is it?
It's right there. And highlighted.
The PS read line option.
Try that.
Nah. It's actually reset something. I remember.
Oh, read line option. PS. No, what did you type? Set dash PS read
No,
line
it's
option.
reset. But anyway.
Type reset dash and then tab and will complete the line.
Where's my password? So that's fine. And my password will be just give me a second. My password should be this one. That's another way, by the way, to close the thing. Here's my principles. I think I overrode it the last time, so calculate those. What does it say? There's no 2 anymore. Where'd you get 2? Sorry, just give me a second. How about we take 5-minute break and I'll get it fixed. Okay? 5 minutes? Fair?